Ladies and gentlemen, every one of us carries a version of ourselves that no longer serves our life. An older version, a weaker version, a broken version. That version still lives inside us, whispering old fears, repeating old stories, and pulling us back into old cycles. But transformation doesn't happen when we learn something new. Transformation happens when we are brave enough to bury the version of ourselves that holds us back. Today's message is not about improvement. It is about rebirth. It is about letting the old you die. The you built on excuses, hesitation, guilt, fear, and insecurity. Because the moment that version dies, a stronger, wiser, and more fearless version of you is born. And that is the beginning of your new life. The old you is not evil, weak, or useless. It was simply a version of you that was designed for survival, not for success. That old version learned how to protect you. By avoiding risks, by staying quiet, by shrinking yourself when life felt too big. It taught you to be cautious, to be careful, to play safe. And in many ways, that version served a purpose. It kept you alive during moments when you didn't have enough strength, wisdom, or clarity to stand fully in your power. But here's the truth. Most people don't realize the same habits that protect you can also imprison you. The old you is built on experiences, fears, and wounds from the past. It reacts based on who you were, not who you are becoming. When opportunities show up, the old you whispers, "What if you fail?" When relationships appear, it warns, "What if they hurt you?" When a dream calls your name, it pulls you back saying, "Don't try. You're not ready." And so, without noticing, you start living a smaller life, not because your potential isn't great, but because your past version is still steering your present decisions. The old identity holds on to patterns that once made sense. Avoiding challenges to avoid pain, avoiding people to avoid judgment, avoiding effort to avoid disappointment. But these patterns don't help you grow. They keep you stuck in loops that repeat year after year. You wake up wanting change, but live the day as the same person, and then wonder why nothing feels different. The old you is like a pair of shoes you once loved, comfortable, familiar, easy to slip into, but far too small for the path you're meant to walk now. They don't fit your journey anymore. They don't support the distance you're now ready to travel. If you keep wearing them, they'll slow you down and hurt you. Yet many people keep them because comfort feels safer than evolution. The old identity is your biggest enemy, not because it hates you, but because it fears change. It fears losing control. It fears the unknown. And that fear becomes the invisible prison that stops people from growing beyond their past. To become the person you truly want to be, you must recognize that your old self will always resist. It will fight for its existence. It will create excuses, distractions, negativity, and doubt to keep you right where you are. It knows that the moment you step into your true potential, it will die. That's why transformation feels like an internal battle. One part of you wants to move forward. The other part pulls you backward. And every day, with every choice, you decide which version survives. When you commit to growth, the old you begins to weaken. When you embrace discomfort, it starts to lose its grip. When you say yes to opportunities that scare you, the old you starts to fade. And when you realize you were never meant to stay the same, the old identity crumbles completely. The old you must die not because it was bad, but because you've outgrown it. You owe it to yourself to stop living in the shadow of who you used to be. You deserve to meet the version of you that is confident, courageous, disciplined, and alive with purpose. The old you protected your past, the new you will build your future. And the moment you let go of the identity that no longer serves you, your real life begins. Every meaningful transformation in life begins with letting something go. People imagine growth as adding new habits, new routines, new goals, new knowledge. But real transformation doesn't happen by adding. It happens by removing. Like a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone, you don't create a masterpiece by putting more on it. You create it by carving away everything that doesn't belong. In the same way, your life becomes extraordinary not when you hold on to everything, but when you courageously release what no longer serves you. Every new chapter you dream of, every dream, every ambition, every leap forward requires a funeral. And that funeral is not for people, but for the outdated version of yourself that you've been carrying for years. The version built on old habits that kept you comfortable. The version shaped by fear, excuses, and emotional memories. The version that repeats the same behaviors even when you know they hurt your future. It's difficult to bury this version because it feels familiar, and humans cling to the familiar far more than they embrace the unknown. Letting go feels like losing a part of yourself, because in a way you are. The beliefs you've carried for years become like emotional furniture. You've lived with them so long that you forget they're even there. You stop questioning them. You stop challenging them. You start believing that they are you. But the truth is, they are not you. They are simply old layers, old stories, old survival strategies. They were formed during the times you didn't know better, didn't feel stronger, didn't have the clarity you have today. Yet these layers still influence how you react, how you think, how you treat yourself, and how you interpret the world. And until you're willing to let them die, they will keep shaping your present based on your past. Letting go feels heavy because it often means walking away from things that once mattered, a mindset you inherited from your childhood, a habit you've held for a relationship that once felt meaningful, an identity built on who you used to be, not who you now want to become. It means acknowledging that something you relied on is no longer aligned with your journey. And that takes honesty, it takes courage, it takes emotional maturity. Sometimes the hardest part is admitting that what once helped you is now hurting you. Growth demands sacrifice, not sacrifice of joy or peace, but sacrifice of repetition. You cannot carry the same thinking into a new life. You cannot carry the same insecurity into a new chapter. You cannot carry the same laziness, the same distractions, the same craving for comfort, and still expect a transformation. Everything magnificent requires something to die first. A seed must break apart in darkness before it can rise. A snake must shed its skin to grow. A butterfly must dissolve completely before it takes flight. A human must release their past self to become their future self. And this funeral is not a dramatic moment. It is a daily choice. Every day you either feed your old patterns or feed your new potential. Every day you decide which version of you gets to live. Letting go is not a one-time action. It is a continuous practice of recognizing what's holding you back and saying, "You don't belong in my life anymore." When you commit to burying the old habits, something beautiful happens. You create space for clarity, for discipline, for purpose, for direction. You start breathing differently. You start thinking differently. You start feeling capable and worthy in ways you never did before. You stop waiting for permission and start giving yourself permission. Your future doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be willing. Willing to let go. willing to close chapters, willing to release identities you've outgrown, willing to die to who you were so you can rise as who you're meant to be. The moment you gather the courage to let go, the weight on your soul begins to lift. You start walking as the newer version of yourself, light, open, free, and ready for the life you truly desire. Growth is not about adding more. It is about releasing the layers that bury your potential. And when those layers fall away, the real you finally emerges. Comfort is a beautiful trap. It feels warm, safe, easy, predictable, and that is exactly why it destroys countless dreams. Comfort pretends to protect you, but in reality, it quietly drains your potential day by day, year by year, without you even noticing. It whispers, "Stay here, it's fine, don't push too hard, don't try something new, don't risk failure." And because the voice feels gentle, most people obey it. But comfort is never your friend, it is the silent enemy of growth. Every person who ever achieved something meaningful did so by stepping into discomfort. Nothing extraordinary has ever been born inside a comfort zone. Not courage, not confidence, not mastery, not success, not reinvention. All of these qualities grow only when you voluntarily walk into the unknown, where you feel uncertain, unprepared, and stretched. The comfort zone is designed by your past. It contains only the things you already know, the skills you already have, the confidence you gained long ago, and the experiences you've already survived. It has no space for the person you want to become, the new you, the stronger, braver, more disciplined version, is living outside the walls of comfort, waiting for you to step out and claim it. Yet people stay stuck because comfort feels like safety. It gives the illusion of peace, the illusion of stability, the illusion of control. But illusions can be dangerous. A prison painted gold is still a prison. And the comfort zone becomes exactly that, a beautifully decorated prison where your dreams slowly suffocate. The longer you stay in comfort, the more you shrink. Your mind becomes dull because it isn't challenged. Your confidence weakens because it isn't tested. Your energy drops because you aren't growing. Comfort doesn't just pause your life, it reverses it. It makes you forget the fire you once had, the ambitions you once carried, the courage you once felt. Without discomfort, life becomes a loop, same day, same choices, same outcomes. Many people stay stuck not because they lack potential, but because they lack discomfort. They avoid the things that stretch them, new responsibilities, new habits, new environments, new challenges, and therefore they stay the same. And staying the same is not harmless, it is dangerous. Because staying the same means falling behind emotionally, mentally, professionally, spiritually. Think of a muscle. If you don't challenge it, it weakens. If you never push it beyond what feels easy, it eventually becomes too weak to support you. Your character works the same way. If you don't stretch it, it collapses. If you never challenge your identity, it becomes fragile. Discomfort is the gym for the mind and soul. This is where strength is built. This is where resilience is shaped. This is where discipline is formed. And discomfort doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's waking up earlier when your mind wants more sleep. Sometimes it's saying no to distractions when your emotions want escape. Sometimes it's starting a new skill when you feel embarrassed, or having a difficult conversation when you'd rather avoid it. Sometimes it's choosing effort over excuses. Comfort tries to convince you that if you avoid discomfort, life will be easier. But the opposite is true. When you avoid discomfort today, you experience regret tomorrow. When you avoid challenges now, life becomes harder later. When you avoid movement, decay takes its place. Discomfort is not the enemy, it is the gateway. It is the proof that you are growing. It is the evidence that you are stepping beyond the old you. Every time you choose discomfort, your future becomes wider. Every time you push through something difficult, your identity expands. Every time you do something you're afraid of, your confidence multiplies. And every time you step out of the comfort zone, even a little, the old version of you, the limited version, the fearful version, begins to die. The people you admire didn't rise because they were comfortable. They rose because they stepped willingly into the unknown. They embraced the awkwardness of beginnings, the fear of uncertainty, the pain of growth, and the pressure of responsibility. They built new lives because they outgrew the comfort that kept them small. Comfort insists you stay who you are. Discomfort opens the door to who you can become. When you finally understand that your comfort zone is not safety, it is stagnation, you stop fearing discomfort and start seeking it. You begin to realize that discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. It prepares you for the life you want, the opportunities you're chasing, the success you dream about, and the future you deserve. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Discipline is uncomfortable. Rebirth is uncomfortable. But staying the same, that is the most painful comfort of all. And the moment you recognize this, the moment you willingly step into discomfort, the old you loses its power, and the new you begins to rise. You are not stuck. You have never truly been stuck. What you are is attached. And attachment is far more powerful than any external obstacle life can place in your path. People often say, I don't know why I can't move on, or I don't understand why I keep repeating the same mistakes, or I feel trapped, I feel blocked, I feel frozen. But the reality is, you are not trapped by life. You are trapped by your emotional connections to the very things you claim you want to escape. Human beings hold on to behaviors, habits, places, people, and memories not because they are useful, but because they are familiar. The mind seeks familiarity more than happiness. This is why you can be attached to pain, attached to a routine that drains you, attached to a lifestyle that limits you, attached to patterns that you consciously dislike but subconsciously depend on. The old version of you is not just a habit, it is a comfort. Even if it hurts, even if it sabotages you, even if it slows your growth, it still feels like home to your nervous system. And that makes letting go incredibly difficult. The mind would rather stay in a painful familiarity than enter an unknown possibility. This is why so many people remain stuck in cycles they desperately wish to break. You can be attached to your excuses without realizing it. Attached to procrastination because it protects you from the fear of failure. Attached to overthinking because it makes you feel prepared even though it paralyzes you. Attached to the past because it shields you from the uncertainty of the future. Attached to your old identity because it allows you to avoid responsibility for who you could become. You can be attached to people who no longer align with your values. You can be attached to environments that no longer nourish you. You can be attached to stories about yourself that are no longer true. And these attachments become invisible chains, holding you down even when nothing external is actually stopping you. Most people don't change not because they lack ability, but because they lack detachment. Letting go is painful because you're not just releasing a habit, you're releasing a part of yourself, a part you've carried for years, a part that has shaped your thoughts, your behaviors, your identity. And when that part begins to fade, it feels like losing stability. It feels like losing control. It feels like losing a piece of your emotional foundation. But as long as you stay attached to the old version of yourself, the new version can never fully emerge. You cannot hold on to your past and step into your future at the same time. You cannot cling to who you were and expect to become who you want to be. The old and the new cannot coexist. One must eventually die so the other can live. Your breakthrough is not blocked by circumstances. It is blocked by your clinging. Clinging to pain, clinging to comfort, clinging to stories, clinging to identities you've simply outgrown. That's why life feels heavy. You're carrying things that no longer belong to you. The moment you loosen your grip, something incredible begins to happen. When you release old attachments, even a little, you create space emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Space for new energy, space for new habits, space for new opportunities, space for new perspectives, space for a new version of yourself to breathe. And once that space appears, clarity follows. You begin to see what you truly want. You begin to understand who you truly are. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more aligned with the life you wish to create. You stop fighting with life and begin flowing with it. You stop holding on to what hurts and start reaching for what heals. You stop repeating the cycle and start rewriting it. You were never stuck. You were simply holding on too tightly. And when you finally learn to detach, you realize that nothing outside you ever had the power to trap you. The only prison was the version of you that you refused to let go of. Freedom does not come from running away. Freedom comes from releasing. And the day you release the old you, the fearful, wounded, insecure, limited version, is the day your real transformation begins. Pain is not a punishment. Pain is not a sign that something is wrong with you. Pain is the evidence that something inside you is changing, shifting, breaking, and preparing to transform. Most people misunderstand pain. They try to run from it, numb it, hide it, or distract themselves from it. But pain has a purpose. Pain arrives when the old version of you is being dismantled. It arrives when your comfort zone can no longer hold the depth of the person you are becoming. Pain is the midwife of transformation. It delivers you into your next chapter. Think about every meaningful shift you've had in life. Did any of it happen while you were relaxed, comfortable, or calm? Or did it happen through discomfort, heartbreak, rejection, failure, confusion, or struggle? The truth is, pain often shows up when life is trying to pull you forward, but your old identity is pulling you back. The friction between who you were and who you are becoming creates emotional heat. That heat is pain, and without that heat, transformation cannot occur. When a seed breaks open underground, that process isn't gentle, it tears apart, it cracks, it loses its old shape, it surrenders the identity it had known for its entire existence. But if it didn't break, it would never grow. The same goes for you. When life cracks you open, it's not destroying you, it's preparing you for growth you don't yet understand. Pain becomes the doorway through which the new you enters. Pain also reveals truth. It exposes the habits, relationships, beliefs, and patterns you've outgrown. When something begins to hurt you emotionally, it's often because life is trying to show you what no longer fits. Pain points to the boundaries you've ignored, the values you've compromised, the dreams you've suppressed, and the parts of yourself you've abandoned. Without pain, you would stay asleep. Pain wakes you up. We grow through pain because pain demands attention. When life is too comfortable, we stop questioning, we stop evolving, we stop examining our choices. We accept things we shouldn't accept, but pain forces a confrontation. It makes you ask, is this really who I want to be? Is this truly how I want to live? Is this path still right for me? Pain pushes you to look inward, and inside is where transformation begins. Pain also destroys illusions. It strips away false confidence, false relationships, false identities, false beliefs. It removes what is not strong enough to survive your future. You might think pain is breaking you, but in reality, it is breaking everything that is not aligned with your inner truth. It removes what is weak so you can build what is strong. Pain cleanses you. It reshapes you. It sharpens your character. It forces you to grow resilience, patience, discipline, courage, and humility, qualities that comfort will never teach you. Comfort creates softness. Pain creates strength. Comfort keeps you the same. Pain evolves you. Comfort hides your power. Pain reveals it. Pain is also a sign that you are alive and changing. The old version of you experiences pain when it is dying. Every time you feel uncomfortable, anxious, afraid, or uncertain, it is usually because you are stepping into territory that the old you does not know how to navigate. The old you panics because growth feels like death to the version that wants to stay small. But the new you can only be born when the old you breaks apart. When you embrace pain instead of resisting it, everything shifts. Pain becomes guidance. Pain becomes clarity. Pain becomes strength. Pain becomes wisdom. Pain becomes direction. You stop seeing pain as something to escape and start seeing it as something to learn from. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift alone can change the entire trajectory of your life. And the beautiful thing is, pain never leaves you empty. It takes something from you, yes, but it gives something in return. It gives maturity, empathy, knowledge, depth, awareness, and an unshakable spirit. It gives you the ability to rise again and again, even when life pushes you to your knees. It gives you the confidence that if you survived your past pain, you can survive whatever comes next. Pain prepares you for a life your old self could not handle. A bigger life, a wiser life, a more purposeful life. Pain is not the end. It is the beginning. It puts you through a fire not to burn you, but to burn away everything that isn't truly you. When pain arrives, do not fear it. Do not fight it. Do not hide from it. Instead, understand it. A new version of you is being formed. The old you is dying, and every moment of discomfort is the birth of a stronger, freer, wiser you. Not everyone from your past is meant to travel with you into your future, and this is one of the most painful truths of personal growth. As you evolve, you will begin to notice something. The more you rise, the more people become uncomfortable with your elevation. They like the old you, the predictable you, the available you, the one who tolerated everything, the one who didn't challenge anything, the one who played small so others could feel big. But when you start becoming a stronger, clearer, more disciplined person, some people feel threatened, some feel insecure, and some simply don't recognize you anymore. Growth is lonely not because you're alone, but because you're outgrowing the environments that kept you small. There are people who love the version of you that doesn't set boundaries. They love the version of you that sacrifices your peace for their comfort. They love the version of you that prioritizes their needs over your own. And when you finally begin respecting yourself, when you begin choosing better for your mind, your health, your time, your energy, these people start calling you different, changed, or even selfish. But change is not betrayal. Staying the same when your soul is begging for growth is betrayal. Some relationships are built on your weakness. Some friendships survive only because you're the one who listens, the one who helps, the one who gives, the one who bends. Some connections exist only because you dimmed your light to match their darkness. The moment you stop doing that, the connection begins to fade. Not because you failed, but because the relationship was rooted in imbalance. Every time you elevate your mindset, your frequency shifts. And when your frequency shifts, you naturally disconnect from people who are attached to your old patterns. It's not personal, it's energetic. Your spirit refuses to stay in spaces where it no longer belongs. As you grow, you'll notice that conversations change. You'll start craving depth instead of gossip, peace instead of chaos, purpose instead of distraction. You'll become less interested in people who complain and more interested in people who take responsibility. You lose interest in those who drain your energy and feel pulled toward those who nourish it. You'll realize that some people were in your life only for a chapter, not the whole story. Their role was temporary. Maybe they taught you a lesson. Maybe they helped you at a certain stage. Maybe they reflected a version of you that no longer exists. And that's okay. Not all endings are losses. Some endings are evolution. The truth is, your new life will demand a different environment. You cannot heal in the same space that made you sick. You cannot grow in the same soil that poisoned your roots. You cannot transform while surrounded by people who benefit from your stagnation. And you cannot become the best version of yourself while keeping people who are committed to the worst version of you. This is why separation happens naturally. You don't even have to force it. As you become more disciplined, people who love chaos walk away. As you become more self-aware, people who avoid accountability drift away. As you develop self-respect, people who take advantage of your kindness fall away. As you chase your purpose, people who distract you eventually fade out of your story. Not everyone can handle your growth. Not everyone can understand your journey. Not everyone is meant to stay. And the sooner you accept this, the lighter your soul becomes. You must allow yourself to let go of people without guilt. You must allow yourself to walk away from relationships that have expired. You must allow yourself to close doors that no longer lead anywhere. You must allow yourself to protect your peace even if others don't understand why. Because keeping the wrong people in your life doesn't just slow your journey. It suffocates the new version of you that's trying to be born. Your future version, the confident version, the aligned version, the successful version, needs a different circle. It needs people who challenge you, support you, encourage you, and match your energy. People who grow with you, not against you. People who don't fear your greatness, but help you rise into it. Letting go is not abandonment. Letting go is alignment. Letting go is making space for the people who are meant to walk with you to the next chapter of your life. Some people were only meant for the old you, not the new you you're becoming. And that is not a tragedy. That is evolution.